Okay, can I kindly request you to say sadhu to start the program?
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Panchai bhikkhave ange anuggahita sammaditthi cheto vimutti palacha hoti cheto vimutti palani sansoacha panya vimukti palanche hoti panya vimukti palani sansacha katamehi panyahi ida bhikkhave sammaditthi sīlanuggahitacha hoti sutanuggahitacha hoti sakacchanuggahitacha hoti समतानुग्रहिता च होते विपස්සनानुग्रहिता च होते इमेहि को विक्कवे पंचै अंगेहि अनुग्रहिता सम्मादित चेतो विमुक्ति फला च होते चेतो विमुक्ति फलानि संसार पञ्ञा विमुक्ति फला च होते पञ्ञा विमुक्ति फलानि संसार साधु साधु साधु. Dear friends in the Dhamma, today is 7th of May. This is a very important month in the Buddhist calendar. In this month, only the Blessed One was born, enlightened, and passed away, all on the same day, the full moon day of the month of May. So we are having our first session in that particular month. And also for me personally, it's a very important month because I also ordained on the Vesak day or full moon day of May. So with that reminder, we will be going on to our topic in our weekly practice session. Every time we take a discourse and then we analyze and discuss that discourse when we meet. The discourse we have selected for this discussion, or in the last few discussions as well, a discourse called supported factor or supportive factor discourse. And in that discourse, there are 5 things that the Blessed One is recommending for you to have the benefit of the right view, and then only it will be supporting the awareness release and the discernment release. Then only you will have the fruit of these releases. So the 5 things that you will have to support the practice are the support by virtue, support by learning, support by the discussion, support by tranquility, and insight is the last one. So we have discussed the first 4. Today we have got to discuss the last one. So before coming on to the last one, we have I would like to give you a summary of the things that we have discussed so far. Just give me a second. Sorry. The discussion, the summary of the discussion that we have had is the 4 factors that we have discussed already. The 4 factors we have discussed are the virtue supportive factor. In the virtue supportive factor, we try to realize the significance of virtue and how well it has to be balanced in the practice. Unless you balance the virtue in the practice, it won't be a supportive factor. It will be a hindrance. So therefore, you will have to, instead of considering considering that the virtue as the beginning and the end, you will have to consider virtue as something that will improve your restrainment in physical and verbal deeds to an extent that will help for you to develop your mind. So we have discussed that in detail in the first few sessions. And then the second supportive factor is the listening supportive factor. And the third is the discussion supportive factor. In these two, the significance is the practitioner will be able to associate the teacher, the noble friend. And by associating with the noble friend, you will be always having someone to help. That is one advantage. And the other advantage in the discussion and listening supportive factor is that you will be having an opportunity to know about the practice, new ways of looking at the practice. And also, it will be an opportunity for you to confirm the experiences that you are having, the knowledge that you are gaining is in conformity with the teaching of the Buddha. And also, it will clear any doubts that you may have, and it will straighten your views regarding the world and regarding the teaching. And finally, you will be receiving the most highest knowledge that is available in the universe, which is the teaching of the Buddha. So in the tranquility supportive factor or concentration supportive factor, you will learn that because you have a balanced virtue, and since you have the support of the noble friend, you will be directly directed towards the path that the Blessed One has introduced to the world, taught the world. And that path is to keep the mindfulness to the fore. By keeping the mindfulness to the fore, you will have the ability to go beyond your physical process, to go beyond your mental process, and maintain awareness about all what is happening. So to have this awareness of all what is happening, you should have a mind that is not affected by, that is not fluctuated by other factors that are happening around you. So that unaffected, stable mind, development of such mind is called the tranquility or the concentration supporting factor. And in this, in achieving that, the tool or the vehicle that the Blessed One is introducing to the world is not just have your awareness to the object, have the awareness for the sake of having awareness. And it is simply awareness, mere awareness, nothing but awareness. So when that happens, you will have an unwavering mind. That unwavering mind will learn the art of not hanging on to anything. So the concentration will become a supportive factor only when you have such an unwavering mind, because you can have concentration even with an object. Having the concentration with an object is concentration, but whether it supports the practice or not is a question, because that person may be so addicted to the maintenance of that object that he is concentrated with. So therefore, when we talk to the practitioner, if the practitioner is of the view that the object is so important that he will have to have the attention all the time to the object, then it is not concentration supportive factor, it is just concentration. And that concentration is not inside concentration, it is the concentration for the sake of being concentrated. But for the concentration that is required for the inside, must be developed and has to be developed with the mindfulness, with clear comprehension, clear reflection. So you will have such mindfulness which is continuing to have an unwavering mind. When you are ready to give up the object, when it is changing, you let the object go, but you maintain your intact mind, unwavering mind, unfluctuated mind, then you are supporting that concentration, then you are training to support your practice with such a concentration, and that concentration is called concentration supportive factor. So this is what we tried to understand in the last talk. We took the stages of going into absorptions and how those absorptions are considered in the light of mindfulness and the clear comprehension. And thereby, we will be more stable with the concentration, will be more stable with the awareness rather than with the object. So, now this concentration will allow you to have some understanding, some knowledge of what is going on within you now. When you see clear comprehension happening in this manner, last time we discussed, every time when you go from one absorption to the other, the mind is clearly recognizing the more frictional side of the absorption and let that frictional side of the absorption go away. For example, when you are in the first absorption, you go let the sensuality and the sense desire go away with the applied mind and the sustained mind. But after some time, when you are in the first absorption with the applied and sustained mind, you realize continuation of applied and sustained mind in itself is a pain in the neck. So since you have learned the art of letting go of the sensual world, which was very difficult before you come to the practice, now you try to continue the practice without applied mind and the sustained mind. The meaning of applied mind and sustained mind, if I may remind you again, is applied mind means the labeling of either breathing or the walking or whatever you do. And sustained mind means with that labeling, after bringing the attention to the object, what sort of details that you see in the object, whether the breath is cool, whether the breath is warm, whether you are inhaling from the right nostril, exhaling from the same nostril, or exhaling from somewhere else, or a lot of things that may happen in relation to the object. You will see lots and lots and lots of detail. When you observe the object over time, you will see how it evolves over time. So that is the sustained mind, sustained thoughts rather. So when you have this applied and sustained thoughts, and when you see applied and sustained thoughts in itself is a friction after some time, you try to drop that and then have just the attention without generating thoughts. And when you try that, if you are successful in having your attention to whatever you do, whatever you try to bring the attention to, and if you are successful, then you realize, yes, so there is another better way to live life without labeling. So then you go to the second absorption, where there is no applied and sustained thoughts, but you have higher rapture and higher what do you call, pleasure in the body. So with this rapture and pleasure, when you go to the third one, comparatively you see rapture is more frictional than the bodily pleasure. Then you don't try to hold on to that rapture. If it fades away when you are observing, you try to maintain an equipoised mind, unwavering mind, instead of looking for it. So that mentality again stamps and endorses that you are ready to give up. So in this manner, mind is learning the art of identifying the item or the factor which is more frictional and get on to a better efficient way of having your attention. And that is the learning that you get from the concentration supportive factor. And what it tells you is that from your own practice, you are learning a very important point that Buddha is trying to teach the world. The important point is nothing is permanent. When you keep observing, you start learning that there is something that gives you friction. And when you understand that friction to yourself, you are ready to give it up. In other words, you accept the fact that impermanence is something that is there in the world. And when that impermanence happens, your mind is ready to give up. That is one important lesson that the Blessed One is teaching through this concentration supportive factor. And the other lesson is that you now see that things are not under your control. Initially, when you are labeling, when you have applied thoughts and sustained thoughts, and it looks like now you have the control over the sensual world because you have the control over labeling and having the informations of the practice. But after some time, you yourself feel that when this is frictional, if it is frictional and it is not under my control, and I myself who realize that this is under my control and the very same thing is giving me friction. So therefore, you understand, you realize not only that things are impermanent, since they are impermanent and they are not under your control, and I should be a real fool to claim something which is important as mine, something which is impermanent as mine. So therefore, mind, since the mind is always looking for the best option, mind, knowingly or unknowingly, mind is realizing that impermanence is there and non-self is there. This is the lesson that this concentration is leaving you with. But it is not yet a supportive factor. Although you have seen the glimpses of insight, the question is whether you have really accepted it. If you have really accepted it, then you are ready to make it a supportive factor for you to have the higher knowledge. for you to open up into the wisdom. And your noble friend will be able to see whether you are ready or not when you present your report. When you present your report, and if you say that I was having a wonderful practice all this time, but now my practice seems to be slacking a bit. And then the teacher will ask, what do you mean? And why you say like that? Then he will say, no, I was having very good concentration earlier, but now the concentration is not there. I have, sometimes I have my attention to the breath. Sometimes I get pains. Sometimes I get thoughts, and it keeps moving all the time from one to the other, one to the other, one to the other, and it keeps happening. And this is the cycle that is taking place. But earlier it was not like that. I will be able to ride through, be with my breath, and there was no disturbance as such. Even if the disturbance was there, it was not a big deal. I always had my attention to the breath, and the disturbance was not really disturbing. Now, this is a very interesting way of presentation of the practice. Then the teacher will clearly and directly understand that this person has had the idea that holding on to the object and having the object is considered as the practice and as considered as important, and not that seeing that these things are changing is not considered as the practice. But what happens is, since we train keeping the mindfulness to the fore, initially when you have the concentration, you definitely will have it for some time. But there is, since nothing is permanent in the world, that concentration also will be lost. And again, when the concentration of the mind is lost, or when you, not concentration of the mind is lost, when the concentration of the body is lost, lost in the sense when you go beyond the concentration of the body, the next space that will open up for you is the feelings. When you are in the body, that what you will feel is feeling. That may be a pleasant or unpleasant feeling. Most of the time, initially what you get is the unpleasant feeling. And since you have the unpleasant feeling, although you move away from the physical process to the mental process, you don't appreciate it because you think being with the breath is the practice. But in fact, the practice is progressing to the next level, to the next layer. And then when you keep on observing that, you will be able to have an unwavering mind towards the pain, and over time you will go beyond pain. When you go beyond pain, you see there have been another layer below the pain level, and that layer has been giving all advices, all support, all grants, all help for the pain to exist. And that layer is the thoughts. And what you have in thoughts are the sensual ideas or hatred ideas, or idea about the suspicions, or idea about the excitement of the future, or the worry about the past. So these are the things that are coming up as your thoughts. And those thoughts have only been manifested into the feeling. So when you go beyond feelings, then you see the layer below the feeling. So in other words, you are progressing now. You are progressing into using the physical process. You are progressing into the deeper layers of the mind. And you progress into the deeper layers of the mind because your mind is allowing the impermanence to take place, impermanence of the physical process to take place, impermanence of the mental process, in other words, feeling to take place, and it has come to a deeper layer of the mind, which is even more impermanent. And that is why you see so many thoughts, So many thoughts means thoughts are appearing and disappearing so quickly. You consider, although you are seeing the impermanence, although you are seeing the non-self in this manner, you are not appreciating it. Since you are not appreciating it, you are not providing the inside support factor. And that is natural as well, because the practitioner does not know. Practitioner is doing the practice with his craving. Although the Buddha has been so smart to introduce the mindfulness to the four concept and then crack all these things and go beyond craving, and at one or the other point, this craving comes up. The craving comes up and says, no, this practice is bad and the previous practice was good. And that is where the teacher should come into the picture. And that is why you should have a noble friend to discuss these things. And when he is listening, he realized this is where his or her new hook is. And then gradually he explains what is going on. And then if the person is having the faith in the teacher, is having the faith in the teaching, is having the faith in his own practice, and if he is able to fathom these things, understand these things, then he will give it a crack. And what the teacher would say is, doesn't matter. And this is how you will see impermanence. This is how you will see non-self. And when you see impermanence and non-self, you will have to accept it as it is. And if you don't accept, you will keep complaining as you are doing now. Then he will think for himself, oh yeah, this is what I see. This is the impermanence. And I'm not ready to accept impermanence. Instead, I'm trying to make it permanent. I'm trying to make it myself. Then he will ask, how do I do it? Well, there is nothing special to do. You keep the mindfulness to the fore. When you move away from the breath to the feelings, and just be happy. Because you are going to the next layer. And you are seeing the impermanence of the physical process. And from the feelings layer, when you go to the thought, just keep a very close eye on it. And then you will see gradually the feelings will reduce and the thoughts will start erupting. So you see the entire facet of this physical and mental process. And when you see it, if you start appreciating that seeing, then you are providing the inside supportive factor. And in this manner, you learn the art of accepting the impermanence and non-self. And as a result of accepting impermanence and non-self, you will not create a friction to yourself. You will not be a pain to yourself. Otherwise, you will create suffering for yourself. That is what the entire world is doing. When the world sees impermanence, they try to patch it up. By trying to patch up the nature has made us all artificial. Nature is there. Everyone sees the nature, but we don't accept the nature. We are going to we are going to take all sorts of remedial actions. By taking remedial actions, we are now billions and billions of miles away from the truth, from the nature. We are now 1000% bogged down in the false and in the untruth and in the artificial way of living. But in that group, there are few people who still have some doubt about whether we are living the best alternative that is available. And such people only can understand these things. Such people only will come to the practice. And when they come to the practice and when they understand these things And when these experiences happen, when the explanations are given by the teacher, their mind is now developed enough to accept impermanence and non-self, and thereby avoid creating suffering. And it goes to a very great extent. When you accept impermanence and non-self, what happens is you will simply see nothing absolutely has changed. Things that are happening to you, things that are happening around you are staying the same thing. But you have learned the art of not being part of it. Buddha has mentioned that in 4 Foundations of Mindfulness. There is a section called Dhammanupassana, and most of the translation says mind objects. I don't like to call it mind objects. I would like to call it section of phenomena. So in that section of phenomena, the Blessed One is saying that your hindrances have not gone away. You still have sense desire. You still have ill will. You still have sloth and torpor. You still have skeptical doubts. You still have excitement and the worry. Nothing has gone away. But only thing that has happened within you is you have changed your attitude towards them. So therefore, when these things are appearing, you are aware that they are appearing. And when they are prevailing, you know that they are prevailing. And when they are gradually fading away, you know that they are fading away. When it is completely gone, you know that they are gone. So you have allowed your mind not to hold on to them, but instead to understand that these are processes that happens beyond our control. With these processes that happen beyond our control, if you want, you can put your finger and burn yourself, or you can leave it aside and be a third person and observe this appearing and disappearing mentality. And it is not only about these hindrances, it is just one I took. And in the same section, the Blessed One says, so far as your own physical and mental process is concerned, you know, as I just mentioned, you know when you are with the body, you know you are with the body. And when the attention to the body is gradually fading away, when your attention is gradually going away from the physical process, when your breath is reducing and getting subtler, you are aware of it. And it comes to a point you don't feel the breath at all, but still you are aware of it. And after some time, breath appears again, you are aware of it. Similarly, the feeling. Sometimes you will have a terrible feeling that you can't bear up, but still you maintain your awareness. You don't change your posture. You don't try to apply some balm. You don't try to call ambulance straight away. You just try to bear it up and be patient with it as much as possible. And when you do it over and over again, for some time, you realize your threshold will increase. And when it is there, you are aware that the terrible pain is there. And then after some time, you see that it is gradually fading away, fading away, fading away. And pain is no longer there. When the pain is no longer there, you feel that you are elated. And there it is very important. Now you are aware that you are elated as well. And after some time, you see that even this elation will last for some time, and that situation also will gradually subside. And then again, this will happen for few cycles. And then you will see gradually, now the feeling is gradually, both unpleasant and pleasant feeling is gradually having not much effect on your observation. You become more and more equanimous to both pleasant and unpleasant feeling. And when that equanimity is regarding the feeling is gradually increasing, you start seeing from here and there, thoughts are bubbling up. And after some time, even without your own knowledge, your entire process is so many thoughts. You are talking to yourself and the big drama is going on. And you get confused, what the heck is happening now? Which is again our physical and mental process. Our aggregates are at work. We started with the form aggregate, which is the breath, and then the feeling aggregates. And when thoughts are coming, it is all perception and mental volition aggregates. So when these aggregates are at work, you become aware that they are at work, and they gradually subside. You are aware. Completely goes away. You are aware, and then another one pops up. You are aware. So like that, for our entire physical and mental process, technically we call it clinging aggregates. For the clinging aggregates also, you see there is nothing change in clinging aggregates. Clinging aggregates work the same way it has been working in the past, but you don't burn yourself by jumping into it, by putting your finger into it, by trying to manipulate and control it. And not only that, the Blessed One says, our behavior also is the same. Whenever you, say for example, go on a walk, if it's a male, we'll see a beautiful girl. If it's a girl, we'll see a smart man. Naturally, you turn away and look at him or her. So in other words, then you start questioning yourself, what is happening? I'm such a spiritual person, but still I have this habit. The one who is developing insight supportive factor, he will not be worried about it. The Buddha says in the phenomena section, this will happen. This is how the living beings are working. The best example is, attraction to the opposite sex. And when that is happening, you are aware that it is happening. Earlier it was happening, you don't know. Now you are aware that it is happening, and because of that awareness, it doesn't go any further. Earlier you did not have that awareness. Then it goes to the extent and it transgressed. And then you break precepts as well sometimes. But now it doesn't go to that extent. You maintain awareness. Yes, my mind has seen this man or woman, and now mind is taking that image, and the mind is thinking about that man or woman, and these are the feelings, the thinking that is going on, and because of that thinking, these type of physical changes are happening in my body. You observe all these phenomena that takes place. Buddha says it is not a mistake. It's a phenomenon. That phenomena has been happening ever since you were born, ever since you existed in this universe. Now only you know that there is a phenomena. Because you don't put your fingers into it, you are looking at it as a third person. So therefore you know the defilement is not in the object. Defilement is with you. Now you see how the defilement is working, how the defilement is trying to overrun you, how the defilement is trying to overwhelm you. But it does not happen because there is a barrier in between, there is a firewall in between, there is an antivirus working. You don't allow these viruses to attack each other or get involved and destroy your system. You see that this process is going on, that's all. So in other words, when your concentration supportive factor has developed, you start seeing that there is no change in you or the behavior, but although the behavior, although the world in you and around you is working the same way, now you are not a part of it. You just see they are rising and existing for some time and passing away. That's all. And you see that to an extent. Now I just spoke about hindrances and clinging aggregates and our internal and external faculties, which is eye faculty and the form faculty, ear faculty and the sound faculty, tongue faculty and the taste faculty, nose faculty and the odor faculty, and body faculty and the tactile sensation faculty, mind faculty, mind object faculty. All these things are working in the same way, and you will be simply aware. And not only that, now when this awareness has come to this level, your awareness is so sharp, and that sharp awareness is called awareness factor for enlightenment, because that awareness is a factor for enlightenment, because you are not considering these things happening around you as you. Your self notion has depreciated. You don't try to make things permanent. You let things happen the way it happens. So therefore you are now your mind is very close to going towards enlightenment. So when you maintain this awareness, therefore such awareness, such unwavering awareness, the Blessed One says, is the awareness faculty for enlightenment. So when you have this type of awareness faculty for enlightenment, when you keep on developing that faculty, when that faculty comes to the climax and maturity, it will provide the next enlightenment faculty, which is the investigative enlightenment faculty. And then that will lead on to the energy enlightenment faculty. And the culmination of that, maturity of that, will lead to the rapture enlightenment faculty. And then it will lead to the tranquility enlightenment faculty. So on and so forth. It will go to the equanimity enlightenment faculty as well. And the beauty doesn't end there. The Blessed One says, such developed mind from the unwavering mindfulness to the unwavering equanimity. You see, even these enlightenment faculties are not permanent. You completely see at times you are 100% so equanimous, so much is going on around you, but you are totally at peace and you are aware of it. And there is a time, there is nothing much going around you, but you are so equanimous. So now what you are seeing is the very same thing that you have gained, that you have cultivated, giving up so much of opportunities, is also changing. That is also not permanent. That also changes into something else. You can't identify yourself with it as well. So now the mind is ready to give up that as well. So if you simply become, although alive like a dead person, then you are providing insight supportive factor. So therefore the Blessed One says, if you are 100% healthy in your eyesight, if you live like a blind man, if your hearing faculty is so perfect, if you live like a deaf man, and if all your other faculties are perfect, you live like a dead man, then you are enlightened. That is where the Buddha is taking us. And the practice is helping us to do that. So when things go wrong, if you still play the violin, and if you are on song, then you are not affected by anything around you or within you. So developing that mentality is supporting insight development, or it becomes the insight supportive factor. So in this manner, you are getting rid of all the defilements that you have in your mind. You can go to the deeper layers of the mind and you will see how blissful it is. And that giving up, you give up your body, you give up your physical process, you give up your mental process. So that giving up, especially in practice, you can see so much of energies are being released, and you can have experiences that you have never had in your day-to-day life. So therefore, it is very important for the practitioners, when you practice, express yourself, express your experience, maybe physical, maybe mental. And that is where the teacher will be able to understand how the progress is happening, where the practice is going, and he will be able to give you a hand to develop this unwavering mind and to get on board to go to the enlightenment. So may this talk help you to reach that point. Blessings of the Triple Gem to all of you. Peruvan Saranai. Hope it made sense to everybody. Can't hear you.
Perfect sense, Bhante.
All right. Thank you so much.
Made perfect sense.
Great. Anything to discuss?
You've covered everything. You know you have. You've done very well. Yeah, I really appreciate you spending the time to do this. Like I really do. You've been with me with just over a year now, but like I've learned a lot from you. I really appreciate it. Hey.
Sadhu.
No, I really do. I don't know how many people tell you this, but you're very good. This is your niche. You've found what you're very good at. You're very good at this. What I will say, you've literally covered everything I'm thinking, and I'm pretty sure you're aware of that too. It's like the last two discourses, it feels like they're targeted for me, so I appreciate that. What I will say though, something towards the end of that discussion that sort of raised something with me that it became aware. I'll start off with earlier when you were talking about being aware of things that happen in life and stuff. I have noticed these things and I am aware of it. I didn't know it was any stage towards, you know, like an attainment or an achievement, but it does seem that way because now it's been a few months now, but I can see how everything's working. I think you would remember a few months ago how when I see people sit in the restaurant, I can observe, I won't say fakeness, but I'll say the willingness of people to just blend into this thing that we call life and it's all a big trick. And I can see the things. And when it comes to women, I've even noticed that as well. Relatively recently, I was that person, even though I'm very spiritual. When I'm at work and I'm back in the jungle, I do notice the old natural turn back because I work with a young American guy and he'll be like, check this out or check this out. Now, it's okay. Now when he does this, I'm aware of this and I say, this is just an object. I was like, you know, because he'll see a woman, he'll be like, I'm in love, just straight off with that. And I'm like, and I break it down to the origin. For me, it's all about the origin. So if you have a question like, for example, he's in love. I'm like, hang on. The origin of this is these things here. Your eye faculty is that powerful that it's gone straight to your mind because you like what you see. You're like, yep, I'm in love. You haven't spoke to her. You don't know what she sounds like or anything, but you're in love. I said, that is these eyes is the origin of this problem. You fall in love with her. 6 months later, you can't stand each other. You never speak to each other. What was the purpose? You know what I mean? So the Four Noble Truths I bring down to, I think this is what Buddhist people do and monks especially is, you know, the Four Noble Truths is suffering and the desire of suffering and stuff. It's more the suffering, the origin of suffering, the cessation and the cessation leading to it. I find that works with everything. Me personally, I just find if I run that through my head in any scenario, which I call the jungle, which is out there in Madland, I can find the origin of the things, and I can be like, okay, what's the origin of you loving her? Or it's, you know, it's what she possesses, and you want to put that thing inside of her, and that's, you know, that's your satisfaction. I said, but that's not it. That like 3 seconds of happiness, you know. So my problem is I'm now towards the end of what you were saying. I think I'm using my ego now in a different sense. It's dissipated in a lot of ways, but now I think what I'm doing is I'm preaching the Dharma to people in my kitchen, regardless if they want to hear it or not, because I think it's beneficial. I don't go deep, but I just do the basic, this is satiation. What's the origin of it? You know, what's the action that was leading to the origin of your thoughts and things like this? And my team is quite good now. They're like little Buddhist novices, which is good. But what I think I'm doing, Bhante, is in doing that, is that a form of my ego? Like showing people like, this is what's happening, and this is what's happening, this is what's happening in their mind. Is that like a transference of my ego from one thing to now it's like, oh, now you have a little bit of knowledge with this stuff. Preach it and teach it, but it feels a bit ego-y. That's all I'll say.
It's yes and no.
Yes and no.
Only you know you are doing it with ego.
Yeah, I feel at times I am, to be honest.
Yeah. So if you know that you are doing it with ego, it is better to have ego in teaching Dhamma rather than trying to show off in the sensual world.
Because eventually it will fade.
Yeah. So you are showing off, but it is in the right place.
Eventually I'll become humble and wise about that situation.
No, I mean, I don't know about that. But it is at least the positive thing that you are having ego about.
Yeah.
Well, so therefore, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
And whether it will be later done away with or not is a different story.
Yeah.
And if you see for yourself that you are developing your ego, then you are in the right direction.
Yeah.
But if you stop your practice and then start teaching in large scale as me, then you are developing your ego.
Yeah.
Right? So it is a challenge for the teacher to ensure when he is teaching whether he is developing his ego.
Right.
Right? So, and if you see that you are developing your ego, that seeing in itself is the awareness. That is the U-turn. A lot of people don't see that.
Because I mean, earlier when Tyler came in, I met him just tonight. Bhante Sudhila said that there was a Christian fellow that came earlier in the week and he wanted to learn about meditation and Vipassana. I said, fantastic. I said, why don't you just tell him to come on Tuesday night? So sure enough, he was here at like 6 p.m. I'm like, that's good. So I had a brief discussion with him and there wasn't any ego in that because I genuinely wanted him. Like, it's at the stage now, I want every single person I meet to learn Vipassana or just learn at least tranquility side of it, because once they're, yeah, I mean, it just changes this. It just changes your whole outlook in life. You can't teach everyone at once. So I genuinely wanted to teach him Vipassana. And I do think I did teach him like your beginners thing. I didn't go straight into like where I'm at or anything. And I did remember, you know, when I first started coming last year, what you'd said to me. So I transferred that and just said, when you're doing your walking Vipassana, I even said, that's not my strong point. I like sitting, but the walking side is not, I don't feel as much as when I'm sitting. I said, but that's something I need to work on. I said, but just when you're walking, I was like, there's no specifics like set. I was like, as long as you focus on from your hips down when you're walking and try and label and get as much information as possible, like lifting, stepping, or left, right, or whatever it is you want to use. I said, just do that. And when you do it, feel the sensation of like around like the carpet, label everything and just feel the sensation of that. And just every time your mind starts to wander, stop, take a deep breath and go back and focus on this bottom half of your body. And he did that, and hopefully that's correct. But he did that, and he said that was good. It was unusual. It was quite long. I said, look, that's how it's going to be. I said, when you start off, like, you know, when you go home and practice, I said, just try and start off with 10 minutes sitting. I said, but really give that 100%. I said, I personally, like, if you're starting, it's better to really like focus, get like just mindful on like your breath or whatever it is, and just 10 minutes of that. And then next week, 15, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So hopefully I did okay in that sense, because
if I may disturb you there,
please.
when you teach someone, try to explain him what mindfulness is.
What mindfulness is?
Yes.
You said full awareness, and I said, when he asked me, I said, it's all
I said
about
choiceless awareness.
choiceless awareness. Okay. I said, not that. I said to him, living in the present, like being in the present.
I mean, choiceless awareness is in the present moment. That is choiceless awareness is the key.
Yeah. I said, don't think
choiceless awareness of what? It is the present moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of whom? Of yourself.
Yourself. Yeah. Nobody else, you.
Yeah. So those ingredients have got to be mixed into the soup.
Yeah.
Then you will have the mindfulness, right mindfulness soup.
Yeah.
You already have awareness, but that awareness is not inner space, but that is outer space.
Yeah. Yep.
So now we are imploring rather than exploring.
Yep. Yep.
So that you give that to anybody, and then that becomes a way of living rather than a meditation, rather than a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
So when you have, and since you have the willingness to teach, you put it that way.
Yeah.
And then they might say, you know, it is difficult to do and all that, blah, blah. Then tell them there are two techniques to train it. And you give then the techniques. Otherwise, a lot of people will consider meditation is the technique or the mindfulness is the technique.
Yeah.
So stamp in their head that choiceless awareness of yourself and the present moment right here, right now.
Yeah.
It's the key. That's what I just wanted to mention to that guy.
That's 100%. No, well, I said present. I said, don't think about yesterday. Don't think about tomorrow. I said right now, and think about just walking. Like, anyway, and then I did the same and explained the sitting meditation, and he's going to be back because he sounds like me a year ago. He said like, I'm just, I've been drawn here. And I said, well, this is, you know, I said, with meditation, you're going to find that, like, if you have any bone or anything in your body, because he comes from a Christian family, I said, this is good. I come from a family that isn't really religious at all. I said, it could be a past life. You could have been a spiritual person. I said, who knows? I said, I don't know if you believe in rebirth or reincarnation. I said, but there is something the universe has brought to you, this energy, and you're here tonight. I said, so I'm very happy that you're here. And I told him honorably how, you know, amazing you are at teaching. So he will be back, and I'll message you his number and also Alex's number so we can add him to WhatsApp.
Isn't Alex in the group?
No, because initially I didn't add him to the group because this is my time away from staff. Now I don't.
Right.
Now I don't really, my care factor in, like, with things that used to be almost dissipated to zero.
So in that initial point that you brought out, there is one more thing that you want to add. Now you said you are teaching people Dhamma, and you are telling about Dhamma to people.
Mm-hmm.
You can give somebody what you have. So it shows that what you have now is Dhamma. Yeah. So you live with it. So when someone you see that he's not having it, he's lacking it, you try to give what you have. Yeah. Right. So so that's again another change. Yeah. And what I want to add is, when you give Dhamma, try to confine it as much as possible or not confine it to make it take the initial step in mindfulness. Then it is easy for us to relate to people rather
Yeah.
than saying it is impermanent, it is this origin, and it will last for a year, it is impermanent and all that. People will intellectually understand,
Yeah.
but it is not something that can be experienced. So we should give people something that can be experienced straight away,
Yeah.
that will directly hit their intellect.
Yeah. Also gives them a bit of a taste of what the
Yeah.
potential is.
You do whatever you do, doesn't matter. If you are womanizing, you do it. If you are a drug addict, you do it. But label when you do it.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny you say that. The last, probably about a month ago, towards the end of me not paying attention to him looking at girls, he'd be like, chef, chef, chef. And I'd go over and I knew walking over, I was like, it really doesn't interest me anymore, but it was more of like satisfaction for him. So I'd like, yeah, he's really nice. He'd be like, did you see that ass? Did you see that? And I'd be like, it doesn't really bother me anymore. He's like, but
This is getting recorded.
oh dear, this is M-rated. But yeah, I'm very happy, Bhante, to have you in my life. I really am. Greatly appreciate it.
So thank you very much for joining.
That's okay.
And the blessings of the Triple Gem with you. And may
Likewise.
all the positive energies that we have generated be with the universe. And may all the beings in the universe be well, happy and healthy, and reach this Dhamma, have the fruits of this Dhamma. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So I'll conclude now. And after that, I will have to rush to the airport.
Airport. Oh, you're heading to Sydney yet?
Yeah, I am flying now.
Oh my God. All right. Thank you, Bhante.
Everyone, Saranai.
Everyone, Saranai.
Everyone.